Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Ridgway, and today I will be doing my presentation on the use of antibiotics in food animals. So to start, some history of antibiotics. Sir Alexander Fleming was a biological research scientist and pharmacologist. In 1928, while Fleming was experimenting on the influenza virus, he discovered penicillin. He discovered penicillin when he noticed that something was destroying the bacteria of the influenza virus. Penicillin was the world's first known antibiotic substance. Penicillin later helped treat bacterial infections such as syphilis, gonorrhea, and tuberculosis. Penicillin was effective when diluted up to 800 times. Because of Sir Alexander Fleming's discovery of penicillin, in 1945, he won the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for his achievements in science. Why are antibiotics beneficial and what do they do? Antibiotics are defined as a medicine that inhibits the growth of or destroys microorganisms. Antibiotics kill bacteria by interfering with the cell wall or the cell's contents. Antibiotics also help keep bacteria from multiplying by interfering with protein production, DNA replication, or other processes of cellular metabolism. Antibiotics also protect your health and prevent bacterial infections. Antibiotics also keep you from spreading bacterial infections from person to person. History of antibiotics in food animals. Antibiotics have been around in food or production animals since the 1940s. In 1951, antibiotics were approved to be used in animal feed because there were studies that showed it helps food or production animals. Antibiotics were first given to production or food animals such as cattle, pigs, and poultry. These antibiotics treat bacterial infections and prevent illnesses from spreading from animal to animal, or human to animal, or animal to human. Keeping the spread of bacterial infections is key for food animal producers in order to make money and keep consumers happy. This is because if consumers weren't happy, the producers wouldn't make any money. Antibiotics also help by helping the animals build an immunity. Antibiotics also help by keeping animals from passing on bacterial diseases to other animals. Ethical aspects of using antibiotics in food animals. Antibiotics prevent food animals from getting diseases and bacterial infections that can cause pain and suffering for the animal. Giving antibiotics in food animals allows for a healthy food for consumers. It also keeps bacteria from entering the food supply. The FDA confirms that foods such as milk, eggs, and meat that have antibiotics that are safe for human consumption. The FDA confirms this and makes the food safe by looking at withdrawal periods. The withdrawal periods allow the FDA to test an antibiotic to see how long it takes to leave the animal system to be safe for human consumption. By law, the animal can't be processed for human consumption until the withdrawal period is over. Antibiotics allow for sustainable production, meaning that it takes less resources to keep the animal healthy. This means that the amount of time it would regularly take for the animal to be produced or processed would decrease because of antibiotics, and it would do that because antibiotics would act as a supplement to many of the other things the animal is getting. Why do food animals benefit from antibiotics? Food or production animals benefit from antibiotics because the antibiotics keep them healthy and at a steady weight. A steady weight is important for production animals or food animals because before being processed or sold to a market, they have to be at a certain weight for different species of animals. The antibiotics don't cure a disease, but instead keep the animal healthy and improves the overall health of the animal. Antibiotics are useful when it comes to large herds or flocks because if one animal gets sick, it can quickly be treated to prevent the whole herd or flock from receiving the sickness or bacterial disease. Producers manage this by providing small amounts of antibiotics every so often to keep a well-maintained balance. Some producers will also mix the antibiotics into the animal's feed. This is important because keeping a whole herd or flock healthy is important because diseases can quickly spread, especially in close areas where the animals are being kept together. So some background. Antibiotics are known to be safe and effective for animals. While the antibiotics are given, a veterinarian needs to be in watch as farmers are giving these antibiotics. Veterinarians are there to help the farmers better understand what kind of antibiotics they need to give their animals or how much of the antibiotic needs to be given to the animal to ensure they are healthy and not given too much of an antibiotic. Over 80% of antibiotics are used in food animals, and that includes their feed and water. Antibiotics also help animals with weight if they aren't getting the right amount of food in order to maintain their weight. Sociological importance. The use of antibiotics are important to human medicine to help with the animal's growth or for improving the feed efficiency. Antibiotics are there to help specific animals with different health issues because different sizes of animals or different types of animals may require different dosages of antibiotics. Having a regular veterinarian and a plan for a herd or flock allows production to be efficient. On occasion, animals do get sick and require antibiotics to make them better and to prevent the illness from spreading to other animals. For example, cattle can get bovine disease or get infected wounds that require antibiotics such as penicillin, tetracycline, ceftiofur, and so on. These antibiotics allow to take care of the disease and prevent the animal from passing it to another animal. So a current event that has to do with the beneficial use of antibiotics in food has to do with antibiotics in animal feed. Using antibiotics in animal feed decreases the cost and care for the animal. It does this because feed that would normally be fed to certain animals can be supplemented by certain antibiotics that would increase the growth rate of these animals. And it allows for the animal to have a faster rate of production because of the fast weight gain. So below is a graph that shows the head of broilers, cattle, and dairy cattle, which is how many there is. And it shows that in 1995 to 2000, the head of broilers, cattle, and dairy cattle was significantly high, and when antibiotics were taken away, the numbers dropped. This is because antibiotics were useful for these animals. Current events continue. Not only do antibiotics give food for animals, growth-promoting agents, but it also improves their performance. Improving the animal's performance helps the producer make more money, whether it be improved egg production or milk production. Some examples of antibiotics used in food animals include procaine, penicillin, oxytetracycline, tylosin, bactricin, neomycin, sulfate, and many more. Including antibiotics in the diet of food animals also keeps mortality rates down by improving their quality of life.
Hi, my name is Isabel, and I will be talking about the other slides. So I will be talking about the current events part 2. Another current event that has to do with the beneficial use of antibiotics in food animals has to do with preventing stress among production animals. Many farmers use antibiotics to help keep the animals calm in stress situations or alive in crowded, unsanitary spaces. As the image below, you see how these animals are all crowded together. This is showing us like how they're putting antibiotic on there so it helps them to be calm in stress situations. So moving on to the next slide. So this dairy heifer in this picture has a raging pink eye in her right side of her eye. They never used antibiotics. Because of that, her eye itself blew up and developed perforated ulcer. It also caused blindness in that same way, in that same eye, because no antibiotics were being used to treat the bacteria that cause the disease that the dairy heifer has. Now moving on to the part 3 of current events. So one current event that has to do with the beneficial use of antibiotics in food animals is that it helps the animals develop a resistance to disease and prevents bacteria from entering consumer goods. After time, the animal builds a resistance to bacteria in the environment. Moving on to current events part 3 continuation. It helps animals from them being in pain and suffering from any disease they get. There's a sustainable production which helps animals healthy and not getting any bacteria or sicknesses. They are one of the best tools that veterinarians and farmers like to use for animal health. They help to make food safer and for animals' health but to keep them healthy and reduce any bacteria that is coming into the food supply. Now moving on, for the use of antibiotics in food animals. Antibiotics used in food animals allows producers to have a greater production rate and allows the animals to live in a healthy, stress-free environment. Although some may see antibiotics used in food animals as a bad thing, according to the FDA, all food animals undergo with a withdrawal period, which allows the FDA to determine whether or not the animal is safe for consumption. They do this by giving the okay process the animal once the withdrawal period is over, meaning that antibiotics have left the animal system. Even if a small amount of antibiotics are left over in the animals once it is processed, it is not an amount that is harmful to humans. Continuation. Living in a stress-free environment allows for good meat quality. If an animal is stressed out, it can affect the quality of the meat. This means that the producer would lose a lot of money because a consumer only wants the best quality of meat and not something that looks different than all the others. By giving food animals antibiotics, it prevents poor quality to meat and allows the producer to make money. Giving food antibiotics also allows them to build an immunity to common bacterial diseases. For example, giving broilers antibiotics can help prevent bacterial diseases from spreading to thousands of birds because they are housed so closely together. Now moving on to the next slide. It's about the informed opinion. The use of antibiotics in the food animals is a good thing because it has many lasting beneficial such as improved production rate and cost, improves the health of the animal and lets them be stress-free. It also prevents bacterial diseases from spreading throughout a herd or flock. Without antibiotics, sorry about that. Without antibiotics, the production rate of food animals would drastically drop because mortality rates would increase, but the meat quality of the animals would decrease because they would be prone to more stress and illnesses. Antibiotics are also beneficial because they are a fast source for treating sick animal quickly to prevent illness and from spreading from animal to animal or animal to human. So this is our last slide. Here is our citation.